I am obviously not Jörg, because Jörg is sick, and since we're streaming this, and I'm pretty sure he's watching the stream, can we get like a round of applause for Jörg? Get well soon. All right, so I'll just try to keep the schedule short because I believe in networking. So we'll just rush through these things. If it works, it does. So I wanted to give you a quick update on what TYPO3 Inc. is basically doing, and what an extremely tiring but also amazing year it has been up until now. We got some new things up our sleeves, and we want to start with what we call industry partnerships. The idea is that we have service providers that want to build an official integration into TYPO3. And I think that this is a really, really important, huge step for TYPO3 to get more acceptance within the market. Because decision makers will go onto typo3.com or typo3.org and basically just see, okay, there's official integrations by MailChimp and SurveyMonkey and you name it. And what we brought with us is a short list of stuff that we have already. So one thing is Super, which is micro e-commerce stuff. The integration is working. Biner, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the update on that later today, right? Cool. Then we have platform.sh, which a couple of people might already know. Here's the big one. So we were approached by Google to build a native integration into Google Adwords. And we got a couple more things in the pipeline for that. So the interesting stuff is that we basically gain the momentum from those industry partners as well, and this can drive TYPO3 forward and make your lives as agencies or developers easier as well, because you no longer have to evaluate the 10 MailChimp integrations and fill out for yourself with what does work and what does not work. But we have the official integration backed by MailChimp or Super Platform, etc., to have these things going. The other huge step that we're taking right now is the TYPO3 University package. In case you don't know, in the DACH region we have 60% market share. So not 16, but 60. And we figured out that there's a huge opportunity here that we can use for universities, high schools, higher education stuff to place TYPO3, because obviously we seem to solve all their problems. This thing is currently the implementation is in evaluation because it's not so technical, and a lot of people think, okay, so there will be a TYPO3 university package. And everybody thinks, so we need this extension and that extension and that extension, and we'll paint it colorful and we're done, correct? Well, no, because we need things like, we need a logo, we need a website, we need marketing material, we need market research, and this has been done. And I mean, what we have right now, there are 14,000 universities or higher education institutions on the planet. So that's a huge market to tap into. This is done in collaboration with the TYPO3 Academic Committee. The idea is to have a standardized solution where, as an agency, you could just say, okay, we offer services on top of this standardized solution, which is extremely important to the universities, because they don't want to relaunch and rebuild everything from scratch all the time, because they need something that is sustainable. Another thing people ask for are basically support levels for these kind of things. So imagine your website goes out and the service provider just goes like, well, it's open source, right? It's your problem. I have this little thing here which says no liability. And this is basically covered by the entire package. The other thing that we have is it's calculated smart, because it's an early access program. So if you want the bleeding edge stuff, you can just buy into it. but it's going to be open sourced after, I think, 2 or 3 months. So very, very rapid release cycles in that. The cool thing is that if you want to buy into this early access program as a university, it's calculated in the way that you don't have to put up a public tender. And this is extremely helpful for universities because setting up tenders is a super tedious task. I mean, who as an agency has ever participated in a tender? Who loved it? See? Yeah, Rick, I know. But you're the masochistic guy here, right? And we're basically backing that up with worldwide marketing and communication. We're going to fly over to Canada in May because we have a meeting with the 5 biggest universities of Canada to discuss exactly that. Just earlier this week, we got an inquiry out of nowhere from the University of Tampa, Florida. So if anyone thinks about spending coding time somewhere warm, you know what, full of alligators, like Florida is the way to go. And this is basically a blueprint for more things TYPO3 can basically do as industry solutions. So something like, think of a municipality package or the real estate package, right? All these kind of things. The cool thing is that we basically back this up as being the official thing, which gives enough credibility to everybody that we can actually make this a huge thing worldwide. Next up, we got stuff that we're doing within TYPO3's education system. And what we're currently working on is state-approved TYPO3 courses. So who's having a hard time finding developers? All right, that's better. Last year it was more hands in the air. And we figured that it might make more sense to get the students while they're, you know, like pumped and fresh and excited to get their stuff done. So we're working together with several universities and colleges all over Western Europe right now. But as I mentioned, I fly over to Canada for a reason. And what we currently have is we have a project backed by the European Union, which is a collaboration of Austria, Germany, Romania, and Cyprus, where we want to have this collaboration with Skill Display. It's a startup that runs state-approved courses in technology. And they're currently collaborating with TYPO3's education team to come up with so-called TYPO3 skills. And the TYPO3 skill could be something as easy as I have the editor skill to manage my website. Or I have the developer skill to set up an extension properly. And with these things, you can basically, these are approved by the federal government, and you can use that in your CV and show it to everybody, and we're currently working on making that a worldwide thing. The idea is that, as I told, it should be promoting young talent that we try to grab while they're still fresh. And the other thing is that these skill paths are built to be aligned with the certification scheme. So once you pass a certain skill path, it'll automatically make you fit for taking the certification afterwards, which again advances your career if you're a young student. And this should also help agencies to find developers faster. Because, you know, we don't get them off the shelf, do we? We basically need to build them ourselves. I know it's not invented here syndrome, but in that case, we need to find proper developers. In line with that, we have the TYPO3 trainer network, which is also something that we want to have in place, because there's a lot of people selling TYPO3 training, which is questionable at best. And what we are currently working on is that, and this is why it's in progress, we're going to have an official trainer network that will offer several standardized courses and workshops that you can have at your agency or at your school or whatever have you, which also prepares you for certifications. If you have an internal team, which are no longer at the university, of course, you can also do individual workshops, and all these trainers are officially certified and basically undergo a very, very thorough screening and need to provide proper quality workshops. Since we've been talking about certifications so often, who is a certified something? Okay, TYPO3 certified something. So a couple of people. Who had to wait for their certificate longer than 2 weeks to arrive? Ow. So the entire certifications thing is that TYPO3 Inc. is working together with the educational committee or the educational team right now to finally come up with a single database of all the certificates, because we're awesome at technology within TYPO3, right? And since I now know that interaction is important in a talk, what do you think, how did the education team give us the list of people that passed certification day? What was the data format? Excel, okay. Worse. Paper, all right. What's worse than paper alone? Handwritten on paper. So this is basically stuff that we now figured out properly. So we now have a single database within the CRM, and all certifications are now sent from our place faster than ever, basically, because we're doing a send out 3 times a week. So right now the certification team is still in the process of, dealing with stuff that might have got lost somehow. So if you missed your certification, just hit up the educational committee with your information, and they'll dig through the files and make it happen. Same goes for the list on typo3.org, which is now updated at least daily, and we aim for updating it basically. I think we're around the 15-minute mark, so that's faster than ever, right? Yep. Another huge thing about certifications that we came up, or that we were approached with by the market, was that people said, well, it's tough to do to get the certifications done, because there's this one event once a year, where everybody goes to the theme park and rides the roller coasters and gets certified, and then throws up and then rides the roller coasters again, then takes the next certificate. The solution for that we came up with was that we now provide in-house certifications. So this means you can just call us up, and in collaboration with the educational team, we're going to use TYPO3 as a multiplier, right? Because it's an official thing. Because who knew that you could just hire an official certifier for a day in your company? A few people. And we now basically make that an official thing, and the idea is that you can basically certify everywhere. This is the next huge step. So if you have 10, 15, 20 people to certify, just hit us up and we're going to figure out a proper date. The Schaffrath thing is done already, right? Yes. On a scale 1 to 10, how good was it? Okay, so 12. All right. So that's that. The next step in certification everywhere is that we're working together with a company that provides online proctoring. So soon you will be able to take your certificate from your office without anyone coming in, but you will need a webcam because there's a person on the other side of the screen watching you do your stuff. But still you can do it from wherever you like. And this might sound cheesy at first, but imagine that you're in Bangalore and you want to get your certification. Flying over to Phantasialand once in a year sounds fun, but what if you don't pass the exam? That's a pretty shitty situation. So this is why we want to get the certifications done anywhere on the planet. All you need is a computer and a webcam. That's that. The next huge thing, and this is something we hoped would not happen that fast, is TYPO3 going global. We do know that we're very rooted in Western Europe up until now, and we thought, okay, we'll give it time until 2019, 2020 to get TYPO3, like out on a more global scale. Unfortunately, that happens faster than we wanted to. Just to give you an example for that, what's currently happening is, the Canadian government. Who knows about the Canadian Governmental Web Initiative? So few people. You don't count, I told you yesterday. The idea was that the Canadian government came up with the brilliant idea to have all their governmental websites built in one huge monster Frankenstein website. Gigantic thing, right? So they wanted to have one common system to run all of these things. And they did a public tender, which was a bit fishy because it basically excluded all open source software. So there was a small passage in that they needed, if you wanted to participate in the tender, you needed to supply the monthly cost per user in the system. And $0 was not a valid answer. This is what happens when you get like the consultants in that help you run your tender. So fast forward for a couple of months, AEM won the pitch for the entire thing, and they said, okay, we're going to make that happen for $5 million Canadian dollars. If we skip further ahead for about a year, the system is now about 15% done, and they re-estimated the current cost at $12 million. This was when the Canadian government said, okay, hold up. Or as Jörg put it, they weren't happy. So they said, okay, we're going to stall the project for the time being, and we're going to take a look what else we can do. So the Canadian government basically hired a new webmaster. You can have the presentation afterwards. They hired a new webmaster to take a look at the entire project. Who did they hire? Any wild guesses? Nope. Patrick Gaumont. Who knows that name?
Yes.
For those who don't, Patrick is the everlasting TYPO3 torch in Canada. And Patrick obviously loves TYPO3. And guess what happened? And this is, they started evaluating the entire thing because you can imagine it's a huge country, it's a huge project, it's around 500 websites that should all be consolidated into one huge Frankenstein thing. About 4 weeks ago, the evaluation period has ended and they are now building it, start building it on TYPO3, like for real. I don't know, I mean, you guys are communication experts. What's your take on profanity in presentations?
Depends on the audience.
Okay, we'll try it. So everybody can just go like thumbs up, middle of thumbs down, because this slide had to go in. And this is basically, so with this entire Canada thing, we can just go like, fuck yeah, let's do this. So my personal plan is when Trump is done ruining the States, that we can have the White House back in open source, and obviously it should be TYPO3, right? So that's basically a quick update on the stuff that we're doing on the international side of things. I will not be here tomorrow because we are leaving for San Francisco tomorrow morning. Because there's a huge technology company that invited us to be there and discuss the future of the web. Unfortunately, I'm under NDA and may not say the name, but you can just search it. So that's the update for TYPO3 for basically the last year. Anyone who wants to talk tech? Some people? Normally I just imagine, yeah. Okay, so everybody's still... You had too much interaction in your talk, everybody's tired. What we are currently building, and this is the main stuff in TYPO3's strategy right now, is basically site management. So if you think about, okay, what does site management involve? Mainly speaking, URLs. Who hates real URL? Cool. You know, we're like getting rid of that, and things are going along well. Another thing that we're working on is redirects. You might have seen that we now have a redirect module within TYPO3, which handles all the redirects for you. Templates, obviously. Content elements, arguably, right? It's part of the site, right? The site itself. This is something that should definitely be within site management. And link validation. I mean, who uses link validator? Who think it should be more prominent-ish? Who thinks it should be more prominent if it would work brilliantly? Okay, see, finally I got you. So what I thought that I'd just bring a couple of tech demos with me to basically show you what we have in core. So I would basically continue with that. Before I do that, any questions on anything I had up in the slides so far? Awesome, nobody has any questions. That's brilliant. All right. So, does this work? No, it does not when I'm in the show. Hold on. Yep. So, this is the current state of TYPO3, and I think that the screen, hold on, I need to fix something. Yeah, that works better. Yeah, now you should be able to see everything. So, you might know the redirects module, right, on the left, with site management, and you can see it comes with a new main module. The idea behind redirects is the obvious stuff, right? So, you want to redirect from place A to place B, and go, if the source path is, this is old, it should redirect to some translated page, I guess. This is cool, but the tricky part is that it's not really that interactive, right? You have to set up every redirect yourself. Once we got the speaking URLs within TYPO3's core, and you rename a page upwards in the root line of a page, TYPO3 will actively ask you whether you want to have redirects automatically created for you in order to keep these links alive. And you can then decide whether you want to have like temporary redirects or permanent redirects. We got one thing quite often why we do the temporary redirect as a standard. Well, it's editorial stuff, and the editors can mess up. And a permanent redirect is extremely hard to get rid of in the future, especially with stuff like Google Chrome's or Firefox's aggressive caching that we have. So this is why we go for temporary redirects in the first place. That should be an option. The cool thing is you can do stuff like keep your get parameters, blah, 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 blah. It's something that a regular site owner should be able to work with. That's the basic plan of redirects. We're not done with this module yet, so don't just take it as it is, but please, by all means, give us feedback. And it doesn't matter how weird or whatever kind of feedback you have, well, maybe other than this sucks, that would be helpful. Just give us your input, give us the stuff you need so we can build this and polish this module until we got the final release done for version 9. The other stuff is the links module, which is currently broken. Yeah, I know. I need to fill it with a couple of stuff. So I can't demo that right away, but the idea with the links module is that you will basically, this is basically the link validator. right? So we pulled this out of this very hidden place in web info, and then you need to get to another menu to get it running. So we're currently rebuilding this thing to get more people to check their links. That's the basic task, what we need to do. And the entire approach is that we'll show you a page tree of those pages that do have broken links. And while you fix them, the list will grow shorter and shorter. And we're currently evaluating stuff like gamification features, which goes like, well, you've improved your or reduced your broken link ratio by 10% in the last week, blah, blah, way to go, right? So, because we all know broken links suck, hopefully. I think so. And this is something that we need to take care of and have basically enable basic editors to take care of their content. Same goes for report emails and stuff that we want to send out. So also give us your input on that, stuff you would like to see in such a module, in such a report, so that we can make the life of an editor easier, because that's the business we're in. And last but not least, because this is something I can't actually show, is site configuration. I git pooled earlier this morning. It works. So the idea is that you have a record which you can use to configure your site, right? This is stuff where nowadays you set up a domain record, right? And you need to set up a TypoScript template and load stuff up. And the idea is that you can basically just set up an entry point, which could be something like or not, hold on. Right. Then all the language definition that is currently mixed with TypoScript for the front end and stuff that you set up for the back end with page.tsconfig, right? The standard default flag and the name of the default language, all these tedious things. It's all done at one central place right here. Same goes for available languages. So, they broke that. Hold on. Because this is the second thing that's awesome. This should work. And it does. So, this is the idea for language configuration. So you can basically select the language, select a dedicated entry point, and what you can see here is that you can either provide a full-blown domain or just a path segment to work with that. And TYPO3 will support that you can mix and match these, which is super helpful because real URL you either configure by domain or by path segment, which is not that flexible. The content fallback stuff is basically defined in this site configuration, and the fallbacks can basically be selected here, and you can reorder them. Oh no, this is still clicky. That's another patch set that you can drag and drop these around. So you have all your language configuration within one concise space, and TYPO3 will act accordingly. But there's more. So for example, error handling is stuff where you can basically say, okay, I want my 404 errors to be tackled as a fluid template, which then just, gets a couple of information, and you no longer need to read files from the file system because it's and that kind of stuff. The other thing that we want to do is show content from a different page, which is something I guess most people likely do. So if you're like me, you have a page in your page tree which is called /404, and you do a redirect, right? This is kind of helpful, but the 404 request loses the URL. This is the tricky part, and this is why we basically will support showing content from a different page instead. And last but not least, you can basically just go for a PHP function if you're a masochist and just want to do all this stuff in PHP. The good thing is that this list on the right-hand side is auto-populated from errors that the current TYPO3 installation can throw, but you can still have your own error codes because you can change this. This is no strict database thing. And if you want to do something like that, and just catch every 200 response, you can do that even though it does not make any sense. And you can see that if you go for showing content from a different page, obviously you get the link browser, and if you want to go for a PHP function, you just supply a fully qualified class name right here. So all this configuration is based in one single space. Who's thinking, great idea, but that's in the database, how do I deploy that? Only one? Everybody's just like, he's asking me the question in a way that I better raise my hand. This is why the reason why this works, and the other view I had open does not yet, is this is database stuff as you know it. But if you go to the sites configuration, this is actually being pulled from a JSON schema and JSON file at a certain location based for the site. And the cool stuff is, this is all form engine. This is all TCA. We just don't store it in the database. And this is extremely helpful if you want to have all the functionality of form engine, all the flexibility, all the field stuff that you can do, but you don't want to store it in the database, or not at least not in MySQL. So what happens is, whenever I save this, I get like a proper JSON formatted document with all the nested information that we have, because you've seen the inline relational records that you can add in there, right? So all these things are getting sent to a dedicated endpoint that you can also change later on. So what you can do in the near future is that you can basically have editors edit your content in Elasticsearch directly if you want to. And this is super amazing because this also enables us to connect stuff like, say, Magento, which have a REST API, or what they call a REST API, to get all the data in, and you just pull it in from Magento, display it with TCA, with all the power of TCA that you have, and all your editors being used to that, and you don't have to retrain them to learn something else. They just can work within TYPO3, and you can just save and store that right away. The other implication is, who knows what? Who doesn't know what JSON schema is? Okay. Who hates writing TCA and messing up? And this is because there's no schema, right? It's a plain PHP array, you type things, and if you mix two settings from different stuff that shouldn't be mixed, it does funny things. And while we were building this, the original idea was that you save it and it's a YAML file. But then we came up with, hey, let's just make that a JSON file. And JSON schema is basically what an XSD schema is for XML. So the benefit, what we gain from this, is that if you start writing your own site configuration in JSON, and you use a proper IDE, like VS Code or PHP Storm, for example, or WebStorm, whatever, you will get code completion over everything that's in TCA. And you will get code completion over every configuration within TYPO3's core. So the site configuration, you just type away, and you can't fuck up, because JSON schema won't save the file. It's amazing. And this is what we're currently working on. And this should be like a short outlook of what TYPO3 will become in the future. Just to give a small tech demo to show what you can expect. And that basically, if I'm not mistaken, let me check. Yeah. kind of concludes my talk so far. I hope there are questions. Yes, please.
First question,
hold on, we need to wait for the mic because you're on TV, remember?
The first question came.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Is the site configuration is the proper place for Google Analytics key or something like that, or your Elasticsearch index or something like that? So I'm as a developer, can I add another configuration to the site configuration?
It's TCA.
Yeah, so but built from the JSON schema, so I have to update the JSON schema? Or
No, once you update the TCA, did everybody get the question? That's the worst you can do as a presenter. Did anyone not get the question? Okay, cool. So what's going to happen is that basically TYPO3 will take a look at the TCA that we have and create the JSON schema from that.
So there's this dedicated table for the site package configuration?
What do you mean? What do you mean table?
Yeah, TCA is table configuration area. And
no, it's TYPO3 configuration.
Okay, but
I just renamed it on the spot.
Okay, so there is a new top-level entry site, and there's a schema that's generating the backend module interface.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I can configure it like any other table of TYPO3 right at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the entire plan, so that you can basically also write TCA for your extension in JSON with all the code completion and the validation, which is even more important than the code completion. Because I think code completion is nothing more than copy-paste, and copy-paste gets you in deep shit in the first place.
And the second question is, it also knows about the additional render types, because I can add a new render type for TCA fields.
That's the plan.
The plan, not into...
Not yet, because the entire thing needs to be built. That is the plan.
Okay. Yeah,
mainly because we're lazy, right? If we add new render types, we don't want to like have the JSON schema adjusted every time we want it. Yeah. So that's the plan with that.
That's from my point of view.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
No more questions. Everybody's waiting for lunch, I guess. I would have expected the question like, okay, so where is that configuration stored, right? So we will introduce a new folder, typo3conf/sites, which are supposed to hold all your site package related stuff. I mean, I think most of us no longer store template stuff in file admin, do we? So I think it's safe to say that most people store it in an extension right now. And this is, while for us it makes complete sense, because what is an extension? An extension is a freaking folder and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's extremely hard for new people who get into TYPO3 to explain to them, yeah, you need to write an extension. Yeah, but I only want to have a site package. Yeah, a site package is an extension. Ah, like news. No, news is an extension. And the other thing is a site. You get the point, right? So this is stuff that we want to clear up so that you can have typo3conf/sites for everything site related, which also contains templates and fluid stuff and JavaScript and all that kind of thing. And the extension namespace, typo3conf/ext, will remain purely for code extension, like back in the day when we all put our stuff into file admin. So that's that. All right, cool. Yes, please.
How will it support multiple sites in one TYPO3 installation?
You can either have multiple subfolders within the sites thing. So it's going to be typo3conf/sites/Michiel's supersite, and then typo3conf/sites/Michiel's not that supersite. Right? So it's several folders. That's the one thing. The other thing you can have is one site definition within one package can have multiple rendering or multiple templates that you can use for that. So imagine you're having the corporate side and then a dedicated part of a tree just for landing pages or for microsites that you use for marketing stuff. And this is why the JSON schema is basically, in the first place, it's an array of multiple site entries, and each individual site entry is what we basically just seen in the tech demo. So that's that. And again, feedback, if we missed something, we're not the Pope, we can fail. All right. No more questions. That was easy. Well, in that case, thank you, everybody in the TYPO3 community, because without you, we wouldn't be like where we are today, and this is important. Plus, we need to, like carry the TYPO3 spirit out to the world. Florida, warm alligators, and yeah, thank you for your time. That's it.
Okay, Mathias, I want to thank you as well, again. Thank you for all your work, what you do, but also the complete team of the TYPO3 Inc., all the coders from the core developers, but all the extension developers and everybody in the TYPO3 community. Thank you very much for all your work, what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. So this will be the end of the morning sessions. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so we can enjoy the sunshine outside. Lunch will be served behind the curtains over here, and then after lunch we will split up. For the people who are here for the first time, this room will be the next presentation of the binder presentation and Tracy and the Joost presentation. On the other side, behind over there, in the small, very nice chapel, we have the developer experience presentations. Okay, enjoy lunch.